53-7, Colorado falls at Rice-Eccles Stadium. This place has not been kind to the Buffaloes, but this was especially brutal for Colorado, especially coming off that win over Iowa State. You got a bye week, you get some guys back in the mix, and that happens.
Yeah, and Coach Prime was started to be asked that question. He interrupted and said, "How do we come out like that?" And he was kind of dumbfounded because he thought they practiced really well. I know fans are sick of hearing things like that. That they had a great week of practice and come out like that, but. Caden Salter told us that we even went live with quarterbacks one day to beef up the physicality. They were out physical in every single way, and it started early. Second play of the game, Bird Ficklin, right through the defense, untouched, 63 yards, and that set the tone. And I was telling you right before we started. Just some numbers that. You go back to the pre-prime era, and we don't want to go back to that, right? Worst margin of defeat since that 22 season. Most yards given up since the last game of the pre-prime era. Worst halftime deficit since 2012. This was just bad all the way around.
Yeah. Usually, even after a loss, it's kind of like we go into these analysis videos, and it's kind of good, the bad, the ugly. What good is there really even the offensive line, which was having a fantastic season, was getting abused out there. And Coach Prime said while he's sitting there at his post-game press conference that Utah is still blitzing us because they really brought it tonight and never allowed Caden Salter to get anywhere close to comfortable. He was 9 for 22 passing.
Yeah, and Salter told us that he watched 10 hours of film this week. And he said the stuff they were throwing at me weren't on any of those 10 hours. And so they apparently, what he was saying was Utah drew up some things just for CU and confused him. And, I don't know. I didn't watch all those hours of film. But you got a veteran defensive coordinator over there, Morgan Scally. You got, Kyle Whittingham in his 21st year. Doesn't surprise me if that's exactly what they did. And look, this is a Utah team that just a week ago loses a heartbreaker to its rival, BYU, in a very tough physical and mental game. A team can go one way or another in that one. They came out ticked off, and they took it all out on the Buffs.
I expected Utah to be kind of this beaten-up team, and when you heard that there were some discipline issues, it didn't make you feel great about Colorado coming out here, and Omarion Miller and Joseph Williams clearly did not get back from the bye week in time, and Omarion got in there and made some plays in the second half, but I don't think – did Joseph Williams get in the game at all?
I don't think so. And so he was here. I know I saw him in warm-ups, and so he made the trip, but for whatever reason he didn't play at all. And I asked Coach Prime a question that I thought was very telling in his answer. I said, what does that say when two of your leaders don't show up like that? And what I meant is, leading players, like they were two of the top producers. But he saw me and said, no, don't use that word leader, because clearly I asked it sounded like I'm saying a leader, right? Leadership's been a problem on this team all year. And, the way he answered that was like, oh, boy, okay. Those guys need to wake up, not just those two, but everybody. This team was very embarrassed and humbled tonight, and it hasn't happened. Even the Houston game, the score looks bad and they didn't play that great. It was not like this. This was just a humbling, embarrassing game.
Yeah, and we've covered Colorado football and seen some really rough football games, Brian. You think back to 2012 and 22.
Yep.
But those weren't talented football teams like this one is. So right. It's different. It's a lot harder to stomach a performance like this when you look at the amount of talent they brought in through the portal. And Coach Prime is kind of inferred that there are some guys that are just collecting that check and are not putting the effort in.
Yeah, look, the previous two times they were really blown out under Coach Prime, the two worst games before tonight were at Oregon and at Washington State in his first year, right? I'm thinking of those games and like, man, it reminds me of those, but. That was Bo Nix and Cam Ward that did that to them. And this is not putting down Bird Ficklin, who's obviously very talented. But this is a kid making his very first start, not Cam Ward and Bo Nix. And so I thought this was worse than that because of that fact that this is a kid making his first start and you let him do that. And there's clearly some issues with this team. I don't know if they're all fixable this year. It's a November coming up, though. They've got to flush it quickly because they've got some winnable games in November, but they've got to pick themselves up off the mat really quickly, and I don't know how you do that.
Yeah. Utah with 422 yards rushing the ball today. If you look at kind of the adjusted rushing total there, I mean, they were basically averaging a first down every time they tried to run the football. That a lot of that comes down to effort, I feel like, and it clearly wasn't. But I don't think there's quit in this team at this point.
Yeah.
But it's getting pretty close if they can't figure this out coming back home next week.
Well, and I will say, both Jeremiah Brown and Caden Salter talked after the game. They were asked a question sort of about if there's still belief, and they very quickly said, yes, there absolutely is. This team has to treat this one as a one-off game and take your humble pie and move on from it, because next week is winnable at home against Arizona. The week after that, you got a West Virginia team that is down like Colorado is right now, and even worse in the standings. And after that, you got an Arizona State team that's not what they were last year. So there's winnable games coming up. They have to rebound quickly, but Coach Prime told us there's changes. He goes, there's things that are being addressed, and they'll continue to be addressed.
Yeah, I will give Coach Prime a lot of credit that after tough losses, he stands up and he takes responsibility. So at least the leader of this program is somebody that's not kind of shucking that responsibility right now.
Yeah, which I will say this, throughout his time here, I see the criticism sometimes like, oh, Coach Prime throw people under the bus and not taking accountability. He takes more accountability than any coach I think we've covered.
Probably.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And you're right. Every single time, I mean, people that put him down for that aren't really paying attention, because he points the finger at himself first. He does point at the finger at other people, but he's going to point at himself first. And he's honest that way, right? He talks about he doesn't sugarcoat it. And he can point it because we all see it, right? He can point the finger at this because, well, we see the offensive line didn't play well. We see the quarterback didn't play well. We see your receivers clearly missed a team meeting and didn't show up. So he's brutally honest with us, and I like that.
These late starts are especially brutal when you cover a football game like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and on the road especially. The only thing I like about it is being able to sit in the hotel and watch a lot of college football. I feel guilty doing that at home.
Sure.
But on the road, I can sit in the hotel and watch a lot of college football. But man, I remember at one point I'm tweeting Matt Smith and I'm like, there's some game going on and we're tweeting about it. I'm like, we still got 6 hours before this game starts. I mean, it's such a brutal start time, and I don't even know what time it is right now. But by the time we finish up and get to bed tonight, it'll be tomorrow morning.
Yep. And Colorado's a morning practice team, so this is not meshed well with them here recently. But I went to Santo Tacos. You recommended that was pretty solid. You've been out here checking in on your kids who are out in college in the state?
Yeah, I've been here since Thursday because I went and saw my daughter at Utah State and saw my son down at BYU on Friday, and it was great seeing them. And obviously, at home we miss the kids there, but they're doing great. And took them both out for some nice meals in Logan and Provo, respectively. So I've eaten well.
Well, let's get back to Colorado and try to flush this one ourselves, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll be back next week with more analysis.